They came to my door with smug smiles and an orange violation notice, demanding $500 for breaking a rule I never agreed to. Pay the fine, or we escalate this further. Their uniforms, their clipboards, their fake authority, it was all an act. A fabricated HOA, preying on homeowners too scared to question them, and they thought I was just another easy target. What they didn't know? I'm a lawyer, and by the time I was done with them, they wouldn't just lose their scam. They'd lose everything. But let's start from the beginning. Tuesday morning started like any other, calm, predictable, the kind of day where you sip coffee on the porch and enjoy the quiet hum of the neighborhood. That's exactly why I bought this house. No HOA breathing down my neck, no board members nitpicking about grass length or mailbox designs. Just me, my property, and the freedom to live without unnecessary interference. But that illusion of peace shattered the moment I opened my front door. Right there, slapped onto the wood like a bright orange middle finger, was a violation notice. Notice of HOA violation, unauthorized vehicle parking, fine, $500. I stared at it for a moment, my brain refusing to process what I was seeing. HOA violation? What HOA? I had specifically bought this house because there was no HOA. I wasn't paying any dues. I never attended any community meetings because there weren't any. A cold frustration settled in my chest as I ripped the notice off the door. At first, I thought maybe this was a mistake, a mix-up. Someone got the wrong house. Maybe a neighbor had accidentally placed their violation notice on my door. That had to be it, right? But then I stepped outside. Two men stood at the end of my driveway, matching navy polos, clipboards, and an air of smug authority. One of them, bald, mid-50s, with the type of clipboard that screams, "I live to ruin your day," was scribbling something down. The other, stocky, maybe mid-40s, with a permanent scowl, was taking pictures of my car. I exhaled slowly, rolling my shoulders back as I approached. Time to get some answers. "Excuse me," I said, keeping my voice even. "What exactly is this violation about?" Clipboard guy barely looked up. "Sir, you've been cited for parking a non-compliant vehicle in a community-governed zone. Your fine is $500. If unpaid within 10 days, further penalties will apply." I narrowed my eyes. Community-governed zone? "I don't live in an HOA," I stated flatly. That got their attention. The stocky man let out a short, dry chuckle, exchanging a glance with clipboard guy. "As of last year, this street was annexed into Westbrook HOA jurisdiction," he said, his tone laced with condescension. "You should have received notice." Oh, I should have, huh? I kept my expression neutral, but inside, alarms were going off. HOA annexations don't just happen. They require legal paperwork, signed agreements, and, most importantly, the consent of the homeowners. And I sure as hell hadn't agreed to this. I folded my arms. "I'm going to need to see the legal documents proving this so-called annexation." Clipboard guy smirked, the kind of smirk that said he thought I was just another clueless homeowner. "That's not necessary. Pay the fine, and we won't escalate this further." And there it was. The thinly veiled threat. The assumption that I'd just roll over, pay up, and accept whatever bogus authority they claimed to have. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have possibly guessed, was that I'm a lawyer, and they had just picked the wrong guy to scam. Could have shut them down right there. I could have laughed in their faces, told them I was a lawyer, and watched their expressions shift from smug confidence to pure panic. But that would have been too easy. If I wanted to bring these guys down properly, I needed proof. Something concrete to expose their entire operation. So, I played dumb. I put on my best confused expression and tilted my head slightly. "Oh, wow. I had no idea. Do you guys have a website or an office where I can get more information?" The stocky guy, the one still gripping his camera like he was photographing a crime scene instead of a perfectly legal parked car, let out a low chuckle. He reached into his back pocket and pulled out a cheaply printed pamphlet. "All details are here," he said, handing it over. "You can pay online or we can accept cash now." I almost laughed out loud. Yeah, right. A real HOA wouldn't demand cash on the spot like a parking attendant with a side hustle. I forced myself to keep a neutral expression, flipping through the flimsy booklet. It was exactly what I expected. No legal jargon, no references to city ordinances, just a bunch of vague rules, an anonymous P.O. box, and a website link. I gave them an easy nod. "I'll take care of it." That was all they needed to hear. The bald one, still holding his clipboard like it gave him actual power, smirked. They turned and walked away, probably patting themselves on the back for fooling yet another homeowner. They had no idea what was coming. The second they disappeared, I went into full-blown lawyer mode. First, I checked the county property records. If my street had really been annexed into an HOA, there would be official documents on file. But after combing through zoning records, property deeds, and municipal updates, I found nothing. Next, I ran a search for Westbrook HOA in the state business registry. If it was a legally recognized homeowners association, it would be registered. It wasn't. Not under that name, not under any variation. Then, I clicked on the website from their pamphlet. It was a sloppy, bare-bones WordPress page with a generic suburban neighborhood photo, probably pulled from Google Images, and a single Pay Now button. No official documentation, no board members listed, no bylaws. Just a digital cash grab. Now for the real kicker. I ran a background check on the names printed on the pamphlet. Daniel Harmon and Greg Talbot. What I found? Neither had any official connection to any HOA. No board memberships, no property management ties. But their names did pop up in other places. Small claims, court records, complaints of fraudulent activity, and even past involvement in another scam. By the time I was done, the picture was crystal clear. These guys were running a fake HOA scam, fabricating violations, slapping fines on unsuspecting homeowners, and extorting money from people who didn't know better. But they had made a fatal mistake. They picked the wrong guy, and I was about to take them down. Next morning, I set my plan in motion. These guys thought they could intimidate homeowners into paying fake fines. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I grabbed a burner phone and called the HOA hotline listed on their cheap pamphlet. When Daniel Harmon, the bald scammer, answered, I put on my best clueless homeowner voice. "Hi, I just got a violation notice. How do I avoid further penalties?" He didn't hesitate. "Immediate payment is the best way, sir. Otherwise, we escalate to legal action." Gotcha. I hit record, capturing every word of his thinly veiled threat. Now it was time to build my case. First, I called Mark, a private investigator and an old college friend. He tailed these guys to their so-called office and discovered it was nothing but a rented storage unit. He took photos of them collecting cash from other victims. Next, I reached out to Nancy, my neighbor, who had also received a fake violation. She was furious and willing to testify. Then I contacted the local news. Journalists love exposing scams, and once they saw my evidence, they were very interested. Finally, I sent everything to the county attorney's office. HOA fraud is a serious crime, and these guys were about to face real consequences. Now, for the fun part. I called Harmon back. "Hey, I'm ready to pay my fine. Can we meet in person?" He took the bait. We agreed on a neutral spot, a small coffee shop. I arrived early, a hidden camera tucked into my jacket. When Harmon and Talbot walked in, they looked smug, convinced they were about to scam another victim. Harmon grinned. "So, you're ready to settle this?" I leaned forward. Actually, I have a few questions. Like why your HOA isn't registered with the state, or why your office is a storage unit, or why you've been collecting illegal fines. His face drained of color. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and hit play. His own voice filled the air. Immediate payment is the best way, sir. Otherwise, we escalate to legal action. Talbot tried to stand up. Sit down, I said calmly. I already reported you, and guess what? Right on cue, the coffee shop doors swung open. 2 uniformed officers stepped inside. Now, the moment the officers stepped into the coffee shop, the energy in the room shifted. The quiet murmur of customers clinking spoons against coffee mugs fell silent. It was like the air itself had thickened, pressing down on the 2 scammers who had just moments ago smirked, thinking they had won. One officer, a tall man with sharp eyes, pulled out a set of handcuffs. Daniel Harmon? Greg Talbot? Harmon's jaw clenched. Talbot shifted in his seat, gripping the table as if it could somehow keep him grounded. The officer's voice was steady but firm. You're under arrest for fraud, extortion, and impersonating a legal entity. Boom. There it was. I watched as Harmon sputtered, trying to form a defense, but there was nothing left to say. The truth was already out. Talbot half rose from his chair, but the second officer stepped forward. Sit down. Talbot collapsed back into his seat, sweat forming along his brow. It was over. The cafe's patrons started whispering. A woman in the corner gasped, pulling out her phone to record. Good. Let everyone see it. The officers secured the cuffs around Harmon's wrists first. You have the right to remain silent. Talbot turned to me, his face shifting from disbelief to anger. You set us up. I smiled. No, you set yourselves up. The fallout, by that evening, the local news had picked up the story. And that's when everything really blew up. The segment was brutal. My recorded calls played over the broadcast, exposing how these guys threatened innocent homeowners. Mark's photos of their so-called office, a rundown storage unit, flashed across the screen. And then, the phone calls started pouring in. More victims came forward. Homeowners who had been too afraid to question the fake HOA. Some had paid hundreds, others thousands in bogus fines. The scam had been running for months, maybe even longer. By the time the case went to trial, the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the fake website, the false documents they used to intimidate homeowners, witness testimonies from multiple victims. Harmon and Talbot had nowhere to run. They tried to claim it was a misunderstanding, that they were providing a service. The judge wasn't buying it. The verdict? Guilty on all counts. Their sentence? 2 years in prison. $50,000 in restitution. Justice. Securing the neighborhood. But I wasn't done yet. I refused to let anything like this happen again. I got together with my neighbors and drafted legal paperwork, ensuring no real HOA could ever try to claim control over our street. We met with a local attorney, solidifying our rights in a way that couldn't be challenged. And just to be safe, we installed real security cameras. Not the fake HOA surveillance ones Harmon and Talbot had pretended to enforce, actual cameras, with real legal protection behind them. If anyone ever tried pulling a stunt like this again, we'd catch them before they even knocked on a door. The final moment. A week later, I sat in my living room, watching the news replay the court footage. Harmon and Talbot, now in orange jumpsuits, being escorted out of the courtroom in handcuffs. The reporter's voice was clear. The 2 men, responsible for defrauding dozens of homeowners, will now serve prison time for their crimes. I leaned back, sipping my coffee. Because these fake HOA cops thought they could fine me. They had no idea they were messing with a lawyer. The end.